So it is a place that has barakah. Now remember what barakah means. Barakah means that something grows and flourishes from one thing. So this entire city and the Muslim world flourished from one place, which is of course the city of Mecca, and specifically even the Haram area as well. So yeah, don't worry, it looks like we got a pretty good driver, mashallah. Mashallah, Allah, anything, right? Mashallah. Yeah, no, this guy looks like he knows what he's doing, so alhamdulillah. Anyhow,
but that's not falling.
That should have woken all of us up at least. So going back to the whole Mecca issue, right?
That's how blessed Mecca is.
Now remember we said that how for every prayer that you make here is 100,000. It's multiplied 100,000, right? So here's a couple of fiqh issues that are interesting. So does this also include sunnah prayers? If you pray your sunnah, do you also get the 100,000, or is it just for fard prayers alone? Or is it just for prayers? What if I give charity or I help somebody outside? Does that count as, is that multiplied 100,000 times? Believe it or not, brothers and sisters, one of the most preferred opinion on this issue is every single act of khair and goodness you do in the sacred grounds of Mecca is multiplied by 100,000. So I'll even mention this to you, that scholars even go as far as saying to us that even if you come here with your husband or your wife, it is all I'm gonna say is it's the perfect honeymoon spot, because the relationship that you have with your spouse is also rewarded and multiplied 100,000 times more. So you know, that's where you somebody's like, yeah, that's good to know, inshallah, right? So, and then if you help out a poor person, you give a rial, you get the reward as though you've given that person 100,000 rials. So that's how it works here. So inshallah, this is why when you're here, try to pray all of your sunnah prayers as well. Pray your nafil, do as much good as you can. Now, we're still in the sacred ground, so we're still in that haram area. And remember, like I said, any kind of natural greenery or vegetation, it's haram for them to remove. I've even seen them build around a single tree. And for that tree to be removed, it really has to be in the way, and you have to get like government permission to do that sort of thing. So all of that sacredness is still preserved as well. The second thing that's beautiful about Mecca itself is those of us here who have studied the history and studied the biography of the Prophet ﷺ, you'd notice that the people who used to live here, the Quraysh, they were very rugged and rigid individuals. They were very rough in their attitude. They weren't the most kind and polite, gentle people. I don't know, I hope maybe some of you guys probably see a little bit of that. In the Meccan, community, you kind of see that kind of ruggedness amongst the people. So that kind of culture is still here. And the reason why I mention that is when we get back, inshallah, and we go to Medina tomorrow, the Ansar, or the people of Medina, are the complete opposite. They were counted as people who were very gentle, very kind, loving and caring. And wallahi, you guys are in for a treat, inshallah, when we get to Medina, because that's exactly the atmosphere that's there. I guess that's about it, at least for now. Most of what we've already experienced, you guys are well aware of it. So Nur, so the mountain of Thawr and the mountain of Nur are two different mountains. Okay, mountain of Nur is where that first revelation happened, and so on. Jabal Thawr, have you read the story of when the Prophet ﷺ went and he hid inside of a cave? And I mean, there's some discussion about how authentic this was, but there's a number of different stories about the spider that came and built the web there and protected him. Yes. And in there, was he with anybody?
Abu Bakr.
Abu Bakr. Let me give you a very interesting story. Abu Bakr, he was sitting in that cave, and the Prophet ﷺ laid down on his leg. Okay, so he's sitting down flat on the ground, and the Prophet ﷺ decides to lie down on his leg. A spider came, or a scorpion or some kind of insect came and bit his leg, Abu Bakr's leg. Now imagine he's being stung by like a scorpion. So eventually the story continues where they went into that mountain, and Allah Azza wa Jal finished the plan, caused the insects Simple little insects like a spider to build a web, and what the purpose of that was to create a natural scenery that when they walk by, they'll be like, nobody could come here because you'd have to destroy the cobweb and so on. So nobody would be in this cave, and they continued walking. Abu Bakr narrates that he heard the footsteps of these mushrikeen walking by. That's how close they were to each other. But still, Allah protected both of them. The wisdom behind a story like this, brothers and sisters, and this is what we will leave with, is whoever has fear of Allah in their life, Allah always gives you a way out. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Anytime you fear Allah wherever you are, Allah always gives you a way out of your problems. So that's kind of the wisdom here. So as we're driving by, those of you who couldn't spot that, we'll spot it inshallah. I'm going to point it out. Does anybody know where we're going? Anybody want to take a guess?
Arafat.
Right, okay, you're in the front row, you heard that. Yes, we're going to Arafat now. Okay, we're going to the plains of Arafat. Now, let's just talk about Arafat a little bit, because when we get there, we'll have a chance now to come off the bus and just, take a couple pictures and see the site. So at least you'll know what to look for. When we get there, inshallah, he's going to drop us by the actual mountain of Arafat itself. Now what this is, it's said that this is where the Prophet ﷺ stood up and gave his final sermon to all of the Muslims. I'm sure you guys have read the final sermon where he tells everybody to have taqwa, and that none of you are different in terms of color, but you're different in terms of your level of iman and faith with Allah Azza wa Jal. So he gives this real emotional speech, and he stands above this mountain here, he's talking to all of his people. The second significance about this place is this is the heart of Hajj. Arafah is the heart of Hajj. If you don't go here when you come for Hajj, your Hajj can never be accepted. It will never even be complete. And the Prophet ﷺ says that Hajj is Arafah. The third thing is, why is this place so important? Is that for the people who come for Hajj, this, as we mentioned, is the heart of their Hajj, but it's also the most sacred plains that they visit where all of their dua is accepted. Anybody who comes for Hajj and they go to this area and they go through all the rituals of this area and they make their dua and they cry out to Allah, Allah guarantees 100% that your dua is accepted. When? We don't know. It could be in this world or it could be in the akhirah. So anything that you ask for Allah in this area during the days of Hajj is accepted. Next blessing about it is, some scholars mention that these plains of Arafat that we're going to is where the Day of Judgment will happen. Okay, so it's one of the places where Yawm al-Qiyamah will happen, and this is where all of us will gather and the judgment will take place. Above the plains of Arafat, the sky will split into two, where on one side you will see the doors of the hellfire, and the other sides you will see the doors of the paradise itself. So it's a real sacred and really important place in our Islamic history. There's actually a marker there that we'll probably say a white marker.
Yeah, the white stone.
Yeah,
tall
white
one.
stone pillar. So if it's so ahead of us, all around what you see, this place is literally the busiest place in Hajj. So if you see here, you'll see on your left side, there's a big yellow sign. It says Arafah starts here. So these are all the plains of Arafah. Basically, no cars and buses can really get in here. That's how much people are scattered. Millions and millions of them are all here. And this is the place, this is the ideal place of dua. Now those of us who can't make it for Hajj, we know what we do. For those who can't make it for Hajj, wherever we are in the world, we fast on the day of Arafah. But those who are here, they're not fasting, but they are really in the heart of dua and supplication and pleading and crying to Allah Azza wa Jal. We are actually in the place where possibly the Day of Judgment may happen here. So it's kind of has that whole scary side to it. I mean, just to know that this could possibly be where I am, and everything that I know about the Day of Judgment, this is where I could possibly see it happening.